someone could beat you. I remember thinking when the guy went to the free throw line for those 2 free throws with .7, I was like, they really can lose this. And they had dominated most of the game. But to their credit.
I'm Bria Maranthus with Comcast Sportsnet here with Aaron Fentress. We are in Spokane, Washington for the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament, where the Ducks, number 5 in the nation, are a number 1 seed for the first time in program history.
Impressive.
Welcome to the Talkin' Ducks web pregame show. We have a lot of topics to come.
We do. We're going to discuss the first round game against Holy Cross, which will tip off here in a few hours. Also, we'll look ahead to some potential pitfalls for the Ducks. They might play Duke. They might play Oklahoma. They could see Kansas in the Final Four. How far can these Ducks go? Also, we're going to look at whether or not they are disrespected nationwide, because if you go to Vegas right now, you get by far the best odds on the Ducks winning it of the number 1 seeds. It's not even close. I wonder if there's some East Coast bias there.
I don't know. We'll talk about it. But we have so much coverage of the Ducks. Our coverage continues as long as the Ducks are in the tournament. So make sure you tune into us on Periscope at halftime. Both of us on Twitter. I'm at Bria Maranthus. He's Aaron J. Fentress. Right. We have post-game stories. We've got videos. We have so much more.
Periscope. We're Periscoping.
I know. We just learned it. We are having a lot of fun at halftime on Periscope, so you definitely want to check that out. But right now we're going to send it to the Talkin' Ducks crew, who's going to talk about the Ducks and how they just ran through the Pac-12 tournament.
Cook, who has it on the open floor to the glass, laying it in. He's done it again. Right to Benjamin. Going to do it himself. And one. The Ducks will hold on to win this game and defeat the Washington Huskies. Outstanding ball game. Benjamin, that's easy.
Throw it down, Dwayne Benjamin.
Benjamin goes down hard a second time, and this one he's not getting up.
Dwayne Benjamin is as tough as they come. Boucher doesn't have the experience. Throw it long.
No, Thompson! Oregon can't believe it. Well, Arizona was one foul shot away from utterly stealing a game. It is Oregon that has taken an absolute right hook to the jaw, and they have to recover here. Kick out to Benjamin. Oh, how about that? Oh, my God. What? Hart. Brooks launches. Wow. Oregon back-to-back stone cold makes.
Cook drives. Nice finish. Up and under gets rejected by Jordan Bell.
And they have that little bit of swagger, that little bit of moxie, that edge, that toughness that it takes to go deep into the tournament.
The 2016 Pac-12 tournament champions, the Oregon Ducks.
Nice music video by our man Kyle Parker back in the editing suite. You look at the last 5 Pac-12 tournament championship games last year. When Arizona beat the brakes off of Oregon, it set the record for the largest margin of victory. Oregon gets a chance to rectify that against Utah by beating the Utes by 33 and thus setting a new record. So Oregon wins the tournament, regular season conference champions as well too, one of the few teams in the country able to do that. You look back at Oregon's 3 games in the Pac-12 tournament, what impressed you guys the most about their run in Vegas?
I like the way that they recovered from the Arizona game. Look, and I'm excited because that was a momentum game. That was a momentum changer and a wake-up call. They almost lost their lives in that game, and that might be enough to send them even further than what the greatness they were already going to have.
Yeah, and for me, I like the fact that they handled almost 3 different kind of scenarios in a very short period of time. You know, first against Washington, they're down, have to battle back. They go into overtime against Arizona, against a physical team. Then they blow out a Utah. Now, if you think about it, NCAA, what's going to happen? They're going to deal with different situations, different scenarios. They have to get prepared for that. And I feel like in a short period of time, they showed all the things that make them so dangerous.
They thoroughly destroyed Arizona in the first half of that game. And then the second half, they got whacked. And the scary thing about it is that's what happens in college basketball. A lot of sports, but college basketball is a sport where you're one and done. You can't mess around. It's not a series, or even in baseball, you have the round robin and then you have the double elimination. You're one and done. And I would hope that for Oregon, that was a wake-up call, that you can't mess around. Right. You can't take your foot off the gas because someone could beat you. I remember thinking when the guy went to the free throw line for those 2 free throws with .7, I was like, they really could lose this. And they had dominated most of the game. But to their credit, and all the guys said they were panic mode. When they saw the guy go to free throw, and literally the guys were saying we were freaking out, like, I cannot believe we blew this. He missed the first one, relief, and then they found that resolve to go out and reassert themselves and reestablish their dominance.
So let's talk about today's game. Oregon's playing number 16 seed Holy Cross. Now, in the history of the NCAA tournament, a number 1 seed has never lost to a number 16 seed. But what should we expect out of today? What should we expect out of the Holy Cross team?
Well, Holy Cross deserves a holy heck for even being here. They went 10-19 during the regular season. 5-13 in the Patriot League, not a major conference. And all of a sudden they get hot in the playoffs or Patriot League tournament. They win it, then win a play-in game to get here. So even though this is a team that's nowhere near as talented as Oregon, they're coming in red hot. They play really good defense, a 1-3-1 that Dana Altman said they have to be leery of, and they can hit the 3. So if Oregon doesn't watch its P's and Q's, it could be an interesting game. I don't expect it to be, but you never know, especially when you're facing a red hot team that has a lot of confidence right now.
And of course, Oregon echoed that faceless opponent thing yesterday. Dana Altman said that his team doesn't take anybody lightly. Right. Do you believe that? I
do. The players all talked about that. To them, it's not about 1 versus 16. C's don't matter to them. They know they have to survive in advance. And you know, looking around the tournament, we saw 2 5s go out yesterday. Anything can happen in a tournament like this. You know, if you don't take a team seriously and they play really good defense early and you shoot poorly and they knock down some 3s, next thing you know, it's 20-7. And you're like, oh no. Now Oregon can still come back from that, but I expect them to come out and treat Holy Cross like it were Kansas or something like that and just try and squish them, get them out of the way in advance.
Okay, let's say that Oregon does advance after this game. What are some more matchups that we should be looking at, something that's maybe a little bit more threatening to the Ducks?
St. Joe's and Cincinnati will not be easy. It's a 1 versus an 8, but hey, if a 12 can beat a 5, an 8 or a 9 can beat a 1. So that's going to be a tough game.
Doesn't my bracket know it?
Exactly. So I would expect Oregon to win by double digits, but still, it could be tough. You never know. Like we said, if one team gets hot, one team's not, anything can happen. After that, though, it's just a coin flip the rest of the way for me. They could be playing Duke in the Sweet 16 unless Yale upset them. Yale already upset Baylor, so who knows what's going to happen there. And then you got Oklahoma or Texas A&M. Then you got Kansas maybe in the Final Four. So I think Oregon has the ability to go to the Final Four, but I think every game after the second round here is going to be literally a coin flip game.
So can the Ducks win the West bracket? Let's send it to the Talkin' Ducks crew to get their opinion on that one.
I'm there too.
1 seeds in the Pac-12. There haven't been that many in the past 15 years. Oregon, obviously, this year. Arizona, 2014. UCLA, 2008. The only number 1 seeded Pac-12 school, almost said Pac-10 because that's what it was back then, to make it to the Final Four. Other than that, underwhelming results from Washington and Stanford. And of course, Arizona and Stanford sniffing it closely in the early 2000s.
Ducks are doomed.
Why is he here
to break down this bracket further? It's time now to head to the In Focus Mondo Pad, which is part of our standard TV and appliance breakdown. Standard TV and appliance setting the standard since 1947. Orlando, please educate my good friend here, Aaron Fentress, on what you think is going to happen in this top half of the bracket for the Ducks this week.
All right, let's get started and take a look at.
It's all right. The screen is excited for this game. It's got a lot to load, a lot of information about the Ducks getting up there real quick. And you look at the bracket here. Oregon, they're playing the winner of Holy Cross Southern.
Okay.
Trying not to be the first number 1 seed to ever lose to a 16 seed. And Orlando, as you look at your bracket, we're going to do a much better job than Chuck did on the selection show.
Absolutely.
Give us your breakdown of the first round.
First round, you got Oregon, obviously a number 1 seed. You take a look at the first matchup, Cincinnati, I think, beats out St. Joseph's. Their defense is tough. This will not be an easy game for Oregon, but I think Oregon prevails. Then you have Baylor-Duke. As I mentioned earlier, I don't think Duke has enough this time. I think Baylor's going to come up with the victory. Oregon has too balanced of scoring for Cincinnati to deal with them. I got Oregon all the way through, baby. And no comment from Aaron, but this is what the bracket's going to look like throughout, all the way through to the Sweet 16 and the Grade 8.
So
Elite 8.
Elite 8, Oregon's Elite 8 matchup, obviously the bottom half of the bracket. Richard, your thoughts?
Yeah, the only thing, I think St. Joseph's is probably a little better than Cincinnati. But this game against Baylor, that's going to be a really difficult game because, listen, Baylor plays a zone almost the entire time, and that zone is really difficult for teams, especially teams trying to figure it out on a short, just a couple of days. So hopefully, I just don't think that Oregon is as great of a three-point shooter as we would like them to be. They're very opportunistic, but against that Baylor zone, it's going to be really difficult.
That's a good point, and the only thing that I think they have to their advantage is that a lot of teams have zoned them this season, anticipating that they wouldn't shoot it that well. So I think you make a really valid point. It will be a challenge. Let's see if they can get the ball into the paint, if they can actually dribble, penetrate the zone.
Yeah, that zone is tough. Yeah. I've seen it very, very closely multiple times.
Well, Baylor has to go over Duke, of course.
Both Duke and Baylor have beaten teams ranked higher in the AP and coaches poll than Oregon, so that's going to be tough no matter who they play.
I think in this year, though, everybody's beaten a #1 seed across the country for the most part. The #1 seeds this year, more combined losses amongst the 4 #1 seeds.
Okay, now let's talk Ducks personnel. Let's go through the starting 5 and see what the keys are for each player for the Ducks to advance far in the NCAA tournament, starting with, of course, Casey Benson.
To me, one of the biggest keys for them, because I truly believe that at some point this season, this tournament, someone is going to say, let's make Benson beat us. Like they're gonna give him wide open shots, make him beat them from outside, use extra defenders to help on other guys. He's averaging 5.8 points per game. Not obviously an impact scorer, but he does have over 100 assists with only 23 turnovers, which is very impressive, a 4-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. So he doesn't make mistakes, which is why he's out there. And he plays steady defense. But at some point in this tournament, I truly believe some team is going to say, Brooks is killing us, Dorsey's killing us, Cook is killing us. Let's make this Benson guy beat us. He's going to have to make plays.
Okay, now what about freshman Tyler Dorsey?
He has really come on late. Some websites have him projected as a second-round pick if he comes out early. I don't think he will. I think he'll stay another year and play his way into the first round. He has that type of talent. We saw in the tournament that he's fearless. The way he did against Utah, he just absolutely took the game to Utah. I think we're going to see him be aggressive throughout this tournament. They're going to need him because of all the guys on the team, he's one of the few capable of getting their shot at any moment, at any time, from anywhere. He can penetrate. He can pull up. He's got a little fadeaway. He can jack up the three. He can do anything he wants, but he's really, really young, so he has to really mature enough to make big shots in this tournament at some point to help this team advance.
Okay, and now what about Oregon's leading scorer, Dylan Brooks?
Just keep doing what you're doing, man. I mean, he is the glue of this team. This guy does a little bit of everything. Pac-12 Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Was he runner-up? I forgot.
Runner-up.
Runner-up. Yeah. So, I mean, this obviously is the star. But the best thing about him is that he's a star that doesn't need the ball. And Dana Altman talked about this yesterday. He said he does a little bit of everything. He rebounds. He passes the ball. They put him in a position to do a lot of different things and not just be a scorer. But when they need a basket, he can create a shot just like Dorsey. He just needs to keep being that star power guy to carry this team when they need it.
And then, of course, we can't forget about Elgin Cook.
He's the man on this team. This guy has small forward NBA written all over him. He can do everything on the court. And we saw he was tournament player of the tournament. And he did that by just being very aggressive with the ball, taking people off the dribble, penetration, jump shots, playing great defense. He had a play where he blocked the shot, stole the ball, went down court, scored, came back down, got the ball again, scored again. He's the veteran leader. He needs to provide that muscle, that toughness, and that maturity.
And then, of course, the swatter boy, Chris Boucher.
Chris Boucher, man, that guy is rail thin, but he plays stronger.
And he's coming back for next year.
Back. Huge for the Ducks moving forward. He says he wants to add more handle, add some more bulk to his frame so he can be a more complete player. In this tournament, though, he's a defensive X factor. He protects the rim, he alters shots, he blocks shots. There's going to be some guys coming up they're going to play who are going to be bigger than him, stronger than him. He's got to be able to hold his own. And he has to stop taking in the ball against the press.
Oh, that was a big mistake. Okay, and then what about Oregon's bench here?
Oregon's bench, they're only playing 7 guys, so you're looking at Dwayne Benjamin and Jordan Bell. Jordan Bell struggled to me a little bit in the tournament. He's very athletic. He's added some weight from last year, but he's a little inconsistent at times. But they're going to need him to provide muscle in the middle, some toughness on defense, and to score when needed. And of course, Benjamin, he's such an inspirational guy. We saw what he did in the tournament, coming back with a toe injury. He's a guy, when he comes in, he can fill in at power forward, he can small forward, 2 guard, he can shoot, he can penetrate. Of course, he can dunk on your face. So he'll be that energy guy off the bench. They're going to need that during the tournament.
And for more on Tyler Dorsey and Casey Benson, we're going to send it on over to the Talkin' Ducks crew.
We look at the all Pac-12, well, the Oregon all-tournament team with a couple guys joining them, basically. Elgin Cook is your most outstanding player, joined by Jakob Portal and Ivan Robb, the impressive freshman from Cal. The Cal Bears get a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, but Boucher, Brooks, Cook, Dorsey, all 4 Duck players that can always go for double figures, but of course Cook was the one that shined, and you look at how much his game has improved. I remember early in the conference season, gentlemen, we looked at Cook and said, when's it going to click for him? When's he really going to kind of figure it out for this season? And now he's become probably the toughest matchup at this point.
Yeah, it's so far, and we've talked about this before. Maybe he's so tough inside that do you put somebody who's a forward on him? Right. No, there's no way. He's too strong. If you put somebody who's a big, who is as strong as him, he's going to blow past you. Yeah. You know what? It's funny because I feel like all of a sudden now he's almost taking the lead as the emotional leader of this team. And it feels like it was kind of Brooks for most of the year, but I don't know why it feels like to me it's kind of shifting toward Elgin Cook.
You know what? He's got a pro body. And he has a pro-style game. Get it to the basket, makes the shots that he needs. We were talking about this. I think, for me, he is probably, right now, the most talented player on the Ducks team and most difficult to defend because he presents, like you said, such a matchup problem.
Is he a 3 at the NBA level, you think?
He's a 3.
He's a 3.
Can he shoot it well enough?
He can't shoot it well enough right now, but I think the style of play, his body, his build, his athleticism, because he may be the most athletic player around right now. I think.
Speaking of impressive players, freshman Tyler Dorsey has found his 2nd win this season, really standing out. What impresses you the most about him, Orlando, when you evaluate shooting guards, especially young ones that grow up in front of your eyes throughout the season?
Ooh, maturity. I mean, just talk about a guy who's matured, who takes big shots, makes big shots, and you're going to need a guy like him to actually carry you further through the tournament because his young play will also inspire the rest of the guys as well. So another guy that you can count on, love that. Put on the floor a couple dribbles, knock down the 3, spread the floor.
He set the tone in the championship game. He came out and was relentless. He took 10 shots in the first half. He only made 4 of them, but in the second half, I think he made 4 of 6.
Yeah.
He was attacking in every way it mattered.
Let's talk tournament seeding. Oregon is the number 1 seed that has the longest odds by far to win the national championship. They're at 18-1. Kansas is 4.5-1. Michigan State, a number 2 seed, is 5-1. And North Carolina is 5.5-1. What is that about? Can the Ducks just get no respect or what?
The programs you just mentioned, Michigan State, North Carolina, Kansas, these are perennial powers that are perennially top 10 ranked teams, highly seeded in the tournament, making runs at national championships. Oregon's relatively new to this experience. They've been to Elite Eight twice in the last 15 years, Sweet 16 a couple times. And plus, no one saw them coming this season. So, also odds in Vegas are partially about public perception.
Yeah.
Because what people are going to put money on, and not a lot of people are going to run to put a bunch of money on Oregon at 9-1. But you put them at 18-1, people might think, but
why not?
But you put Kansas at 10-1, people are all over that. So that plays a part into it as well. And the other thing, let's not forget, the Pac-12 had a great season this year, and it's a conference that should be considered one of the upper tier conferences. But when you come into the tournament and you lose 5 out of the first 6,
yikes!
Cal out, Oregon State out. Who else? Arizona out, Colorado out, USC out. That doesn't look good for your conference. So I think coming into this tournament, people wondered how good the Pac-12 was, and that puts a little bit of a stigma on Oregon because it won the conference regular season and in the tournament. But what does that really mean compared to teams that won the ACC or even finished 2nd or 3rd in the ACC or other conferences?
Well, and then being a number 1 seed, that does bring more challenges. And for that, we'll go to the Talkin' Ducks crew.
Oregon's most recent tournament history, their last 4 trips to the big dance. The last 3 up there under Coach Altman, you see 2015 you lose to a 1 seed, 2013 you lose to a 1 seed. 2014, you lose to a 2 seed. Oregon now finds themselves in the 1 seed. What are the challenges, Orlando, of being that 1 seed, knowing that you have those expectations to make it to the Final Four? Is it any more weight for this team going into the tournament?
You know what, Jordan? It's one more distraction, to be honest with you. And I like what Benjamin said. He said, look, we weren't looking to be a number 1 seed. We were simply looking to play basketball. The NCAA tournament has inherent distractions built in. All of the media, all of the fans, the pregame drug screens that you get randomly selected for. A number 1 seed creates distractions. Hopefully these guys remain focused and Coach Altman gets them ready for the game.
More distraction? Do you guys agree with that?
Well, I hear what he's saying because pressure comes with it. More attention, more focus. Some teams could fall in the spotlight of that. But there's so many benefits to being a 1 seed that I think it outweighs the distractions. And to me, if you can't deal with the pressure of being number 1, you have no chance of winning it anyway. So if you lose because of the weight of that, then you weren't a championship caliber team. So the benefits of this are just amazing. They're going to play a 16 and then an 8 or 9. So a Sweet 16 should be a given, and then you go from there.
You look at Oregon's bracket, and a lot of times it doesn't matter what seed you are. It determines who in your neighborhood is in your bracket as well, too. And look at the top half of the West bracket, Oregon playing the winner of St. Joseph's Cincinnati if they avoid history by being the first number 1 seed to ever lose to a 16. Then you see Baylor, a team that Oregon beat earlier this year. Of course, Duke, one of the most popular teams in the country. As you look at the bottom half of the West bracket, big names are the Beavers getting in for the first time since 1990. They've got an early game on Friday, but then Oklahoma, Texas A&M, 2 teams a lot of pundits in the national media say have a great chance of knocking off Oregon. So going back to your point, Aaron, you look at this bracket, and also Orlando, Richard, I want you guys to think about this too. Oregon's kryptonite, the last couple of deep trips in the tournament, they run into very good number 1 seeds. Do they now avoid that chance with them being the 1 seed? Do you see a heavyweight in there that might give Oregon a run for their money?
Oof. I think from Duke on, Duke or Baylor on, it's going to be really tough. Even though they beat Baylor, have you seen Baylor's losses? They've lost 3 times to Kansas, I think twice to West Virginia, and twice to Oklahoma, and then they lost like 4 of their games to ranked teams. So their losses are really, really quality losses. But Duke is just Duke. I mean, Coach K is going to get them. I know they're down, but in a tournament situation, he gets them ready to play. They have wins at North Carolina, and they have a win over Virginia, which are 2 number 1 seeds. So they've beaten 2 number 1 seeds already. They're not going to be scared of Oregon.
North Carolina just beat Duke at home, and I just don't think they're playing well enough. Duke, I don't think they're the same. They have the same mystique that they've had in the past. Oregon, I think, could really actually, just like they did in the Pac-12 tournament, dismantle Duke. So I think they've got a really good chance. My team, the scary team,
like Utah?
Oklahoma.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting very antsy for this game to start. Let me ask you, what is your prediction for this game?
I think Oregon takes care of business. I don't think it'll be just a supreme butt kicking, but I think it'll be, I'm thinking 77-55. I think Holy Cross makes it semi-interesting because they do play good defense. Maybe Oregon comes out a little bit tight being a 1 seed, but I think Oregon wins it pretty handily.
Supreme butt kicking. That needs to go under Aaron's new quotes because I really like that one. Okay. I'm going to go with the Ducks take the win. They stop Holy Cross's momentum 66-58.
Okay. Ooh, close.
I know. So we're going to have so much more updates as the Ducks get rolling here in the NCAA tournament. We're going to have Periscope at halftime, which is very entertaining. We have a lot of fun on Periscope.
We do have a lot of fun at Periscope. We'll break down the first half, talk about the trends we're seeing, key players, et cetera, et cetera.
Also, follow us on Twitter. I'm at Bri Amaranthus, Aaron J. Fentress, and at CSNNW.com. Also, we're going to have videos, we're going to have articles. Be sure to check it out.
Potpourri of coverage.
Potpourri of coverage.